Antioquia la más educada.
Antioquia is a state, is the crowdest state in Colombia. It's about 6.5 million people, 64,000 square kilometers. You will have to translate to miles if you want. And we are located at the northern part of Colombia on the west side, very close to Panama. So Antioquia shows the diversity of Colombia. And what I'm going to do today is I'll give you a trip through our experience in the last years. And I'm going to be beginning with the basic things that we have done from Medellin to Antioquia. I'm going to go as fast as I can. Please fasten your seatbelts. I'll take you through this ride. And here's the title of what I'm going to be talking about. Medellin and Antioquia, the most educated. You'll see why I say the most educated. Our challenge and what we have been doing is from fear to hope. And that's what I'm going to tell you tonight. So let's begin this wonderful trip. The first thing that I always like to explain, I always begin with this slide, with this picture. This is my handwriting. I'm still a professor and I'll die as a professor of mathematics actually, is why are we here? And the reason we are here is politics. And I like to tell you a little bit about our history, our story, the people that currently lead in the Department of Antioquia. About 15 years ago, a group of people, very small group of people, we got together and we made a decision. We are going to get into politics. I come from the academic world. I'm a mathematician. I am, mathematically speaking, from the University of Wisconsin in Madison. That's where I got my PhD in mathematics. And with a group of people from different sectors of society, we got together. And after so many years, we said, after all, the persons who make the most important decisions in our society are politicians. So we can spend the rest of our lives complaining, trying to propose things, saying this should be done, but somebody has to do them, and it's politics. So this group of people, outsiders, I don't know how you say it now in English, indignados. You understand? Anyway. So we made a decision and said, we are indignados. We don't like the traditional political parties, which doesn't mean that there are no valuable people within those parties. It's not a personal problem. And we said we are going to get into politics. So 15 years ago, a little less, a very small group of people, around 50 of us, we decided we are going to get together, we are going to organize a civic movement, political movement, and we are going to get into power, and we are going to transform this society. That's what we said a little more than 14 years ago, and here we are. So I have to tell you a little bit about that path, because when you come here, you will see wonderful people all over the place, but I always want to take the time to explain why we did these things, how we are doing it, and what was the thing that inspired us. So the very basic thing that we did was we set up a set of principles. In mathematical terms, we got together and we said, what are the axioms, the basic concepts that allow us to relate to society? We wrote that down. And then we posed the problems that we wanted to solve, that we are still trying to solve. And we are working on 3 problems for our society. That's a political decision, what problems you work on. Inequality, that's a word that right now is all over the place, all over the world. When I was studying in the United States, nobody talked about inequality. Today, everyone talks about inequality. We know about inequality for all our lives. And we don't accept inequality as a condition for us as human beings. So we have inequality as a challenge in order to build a just society. Secondly, violence. We are from Medellin. Rafael mentioned, and we know, and you know, what has been the meaning of Medellin during the last decades, associated with violence and destruction. We don't accept that. And the third problem that we want to work on is a culture of illegality that has corruption as a main chapter. Those are the three problems that we have to work on. We got together, we identified the principles, the axioms, the problems, and then, as we do in mathematics, we got on to solve them. And we have been doing that. I'm going to tell you a little more. First, in the year 2004, we began walking in Medellin, January the year 2000. We walked throughout through the whole city. We walked every single corner. And by the year 2004, I was elected mayor, and I began my period as mayor with this team in January 2004. And our challenge and our development plan was named Medellin, the most educated. And the reason for that is Medellin is not the most educated if you look at the standardized tests that are taken. But that has been our challenge. We have to be the most educated, a way to rally our society. It has been a long ride now. And now we are in Antioquia. Medellin is the capital of Antioquia. It's our capital. Now I'm the governor of Antioquia. After I finish, in Colombia, we have no re-election for mayors or governors. A friend of mine, Alonso Salazar, came into power, and now we have Aníbal Gaviria in power. So a good friend with whom we have worked, even though we belong to different political parties or organizations. And the synthesis, the summary of what we have done is captured here in this formula. What we have been doing throughout all these years, and that's the reason we are all here with this government in Antioquia, is we have been walking since we began 14 years ago. We have been coherent, which means every step that we have taken doesn't contradict the previous steps, and we have been consistent. We have kept the same principles throughout all these years. We don't change principles depending on who we are talking to or what situation we are facing. And when you put coherence and consistency together, then you build the most important, the richest capital that you can build in politics, which is trust. What we have, our power is associated with trust. We have built trust throughout all these years, and that's the power that we have. And I'm talking on behalf of these people who got together, and we have been walking throughout all these years, building and the dream that we had at the beginning that was, we are going to transform this society. That's the first step always, whenever I give a talk. Remember where we come from, what inspired us, and now we are going to see how we handle things. This is a simple graph. I'll do it myself. My wife doesn't like it, but that's as far as I can go. But it's very simple. Think of three trees, the three: inequality, illegality, and violence. Those three trees, when you look at them, they look, or they seem to be separate. They have their own tallo. I forgot the name of tallo. The stem. But if you look, they may have at the beginning, because they are not exactly the same, they may have roots that at the beginning are far apart. But after all these years, the roots continue going downwards, they get tangled, and at the end, basically, even though those three trees, you may look at them from the surface, they may seem three different trees. At the end, they are the same for us, because they end up having a single root. And if you are going to take any of these three away, that's what we want. We would like to finish inequality. Then we know that you cannot do it one by one. You have to do it simultaneously. You have to work on the three problems simultaneously in order to get the problem solved. That's what we have been working on, simultaneously trying to uproot those three trees. That's a way to explain, because usually, again, people talk about inequality here, violence here, the culture of illegality here, but very deep down, they are the same thing when they get together and the roots get tangled. Now, I'm going to explain you the fundamentals. That's the basic thing. That's the most important thing that I can tell you. There are many things that you are going to see in Medellin, in Antioquia, but I'm going to explain you the fundamentals that have inspired us And that's what we do every single day of our lives. Since the moment that we got into the public sphere, I should never be here. I used to be a full professor at the university. I knew how I was going to retire. Now I have no idea. I have no pension whatsoever. But I'm going to explain you. The three concepts that are underlying the whole thing that we have done are dignity. And dignity, if you express it in the simplest terms, is we are all equal as human beings. That sounds very simple and very easy to say, and the word is used very easily. But that conveys a very profound position with regard to life and in the public service. Respect, capabilities. We are always talking about capabilities that don't depend on our social origin, color of our skin, men or women, where you were born. And if you put those three things together, there is something that always goes on with us, which is recognition of people, of human beings. We all need recognition. I'm very proud when you talk about what we have done. I need recognition, as we all do, as human beings. But you have to take that into the community. To the humblest person should be equally recognized as human being, and that's very powerful. Those are the concepts, as I say, that underline what we have been doing. Secondly, politics. I talked a little bit about politics. The way we do it, and we understand it, and I want to synthesize it with a sentence, is the means justify the end. You are going to find the other expression, the end justify the means over here. But it's the means that justify the end. The way you get into power determines how you govern. And that's crucial. And that has many implications in what we have been seeing in politics throughout the world, not only in Latin America, throughout the world, is a very undeserving way of getting into power in many places. And that's at the root of the indignation of many people throughout the world, and it has to do with politics, and the key for the whole thing is politics. The problems, I'll describe them very quickly and easily. Inequality, for most people, means I have no chance. It doesn't mean you're poor. It means that you look forward and you see no chance. That means then there is no hope. I'll explain a little more later. Violence. What's the power of violent people? And we know very much about them. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't have to talk about these things in my life. The power is the fear that they instill on us. And when they have their power, the fear that we feel in front of violent people, then the problem in our lives consists survive. And when every individual has to survive, then we end up with a fragmented society, everyone on its space. So societies and cities end up being divided in pieces that doesn't have anything to do, each one with the other. That's the power of violence. Illegality, I said it, but I repeat it. Illegality is, roughly speaking, based on the expression, the end justified the means. Anything goes. You want to get to a place, and it doesn't matter how you get there. And we claim, as I said at the beginning, the key for us has been, we have been following a path, not any path. We have been coherent, we have been consistent. In politics, in public life, and that becomes part of illegality in our society, which is a difficult situation throughout the world actually, is the end justify the means. And that's a fallacy. The idea of, okay, we get into power, but then we are going to do very good things. False. The way you get into power determines how you govern. And that's a lie that underlies many things that many people excuse themselves saying, well, we have to get there, but once we get there, we do different things. That's false. And that has to do with illegality. And corruption, that is closely related. Corruption, roughly speaking, means taking public goods for the private benefits. What happens with corruption is, again, the poor people are the ones who pay the price for this. It's a way of stealing not only the money, but the opportunities for the poor people, and they never know that they are losing because they don't. It's a very special theft because you are taking away opportunities. We're used to the fact that say, well, my computer was taken away. I lost something that I already have. But corruption is taking away what they don't have and they deserve, and they will never know that they would deserve it. And these end up being people asking for handouts, limosna in Spanish, and then people kneeling in front of other people saying, what are you going to give me? And that's the destruction of dignity, because we don't have to kneel in front of anyone. In church, you may choose whatever you want, but in public, we don't have to kneel in front of any other human being because we are all equally dignified as human beings. The key to the whole work that we have been doing is the work with the community. But how you get community involved in every single thing? The way you do it is people have to understand. I am a professor, and I deeply believe that everyone can understand anything if we explain well. Usually, this is said, and violent and corrupt people, they will never be interested in people being educated because they want to have them dominated. And if you are educated, you are free. So people have to understand. And we in politics, for example, have to explain. We can explain every single thing. If we are good professors, many things can be explained in very simple terms and people will understand. In order to have a transformation, you have to have people understanding, that means explaining, then they have to see, you have to see things, you have to feel, deeply feel, and if you put those things together, you have to believe. Then you end up believing. Believing in politics, believing in hope and the transformation. That's crucial for us. For example, when you come to Medellin, we didn't build the cable car. The cable car the construction of the cable car began with the previous mayor. And actually the idea goes far back. It's a good idea. It's a very good idea in many terms. But a cable car doesn't change people's lives. It makes life easier. We can go faster. But that doesn't change you as a human being. We have the metro of Medellin, which is the cable car is part of the metro system, which is wonderful. But that doesn't change us as human beings. That makes us better human beings in some senses. But you have to put all these things together to change human beings. And that's the crucial thing. How all these things that we do affect people's life and makes them feel hope. I'll just elaborate in a second. We have to do many things in Medellin, in Antioquia, even in Colombia. When we have fear, as I said, we get a fragmented society. You are today here, we are in the wealthiest part of town of Medellin. Usually people from this part of town would never go to where you were today. And a few years ago, they will never dare to go there. Actually, they didn't even know there was a neighborhood called Popular. So we have to connect the city. We have to, when we have gone through this, we have to put these pieces together. We have to connect the city. We have to make sure that we can see each other. When we are fragmented, we are not citizens, we are individuals surviving. And we have to put us together again. And that happens in public space. And in that public space, we, in Medellin, we knew a few things. And here is Alejandro Echeverri, who was the guy who directed the urban transformation in our government, educated in Barcelona, Joan. We know that in Medellin, we had to change the skin of the town, because the skin of our city was stained with violence, with blood. We had seen destruction. So we have to change it in order to have a new skin. We also knew that we had to do something that wasn't done and traditionally isn't done. The most beautiful things for the humblest people. Usually, the beautiful things are for the rich people. So that goes with dignity. Those places that you will see around Medellin, and I'll show you some pictures, there has been not a single violent act in those places that we built, because we built them with the community, a community that understood, saw, and felt, and believed, and we got them to be the owners of their own destiny in many senses. You can build beautiful buildings anywhere in the world. We have wonderful architecture all over the world, but those buildings have to be adjusted at what we talked about in politics, what we mean, and that has to be with dignity, respect, capabilities, and recognition. So that when we build the most beautiful places for the humblest people, we are tearing down an incredible barrier that we had in this society. And that dignifies people, and that's powerful because we build new public spaces that mean what we want to construct in our society. As I said, we have to connect. So we have many interventions, many urban interventions, social innovations in the sense that we put all these concepts together. So when you go there and you see those and the community feel them and believe in them, then you have put together politics and life. And that's what makes the transformation possible. Because I said, beautiful buildings can be designed by wonderful architects throughout the place. But putting together buildings, interventions, and the political concepts, that's the key for hope. That's what comes next. I'm going to give, how am I doing with the time, please? Rafael? Am I doing okay? No? No? Okay. I'm just going to say a few things. Okay. Okay, let me relax. Get back to the path. We have building hope. We have been building hope. That means every person can see a path that they can follow in life. It's a dignified path, a path that leads to opportunities. You can think of inequality as a wall that people are sitting on one side, they look in front of their lives and they see a wall in front. They know that opportunities are behind the wall. They know what exists behind the wall, but they don't see a way to get there. What we have been doing, and hope has to do with it, is when we open up doors through that wall of inequality, and every human being can say, I can go through that one. It may be far. It doesn't mean that the problems are solved, but people say, I can walk through this path. And that's what's hope all about. And whatever path you take, in order to get there, there is a station that everyone has to go through, which is education. If we don't educate our people, we will never get to the door of opportunities in order to tear down inequality. Let me see if I can accelerate. So I shouldn't talk about Antioquia now? I'm going to talk about Antioquia. Just give me 5 minutes. Excuse me. I'll do it faster. How we make sure that this whole society understands education as the engine of social transformation. Education is very easy to talk about. And if you take Obama's speeches about education and you translate that into Spanish, you will get Evo Morales in Bolivia, what he says. We all want to have our kids reading better problem-solving skills, better in math, sciences. We do the same. And they talk about how the teachers have to be better and so on. Education is very easy to talk about. But what we move is education in the 21st century senses, which it means education in the formal sense, school, science, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, culture. Those are the places where you develop your capabilities, the ones that I talked about. So how we make sure that Antioquia moves around education? Well, the first step is politics. We talk about Antioquia, the most educated. Everyone in Antioquia knows we are betting on education. This can happen. I'm not going to describe all the details, I'll have them, but it doesn't matter. Then you have Antioquia. In Antioquia, we have 125 municipalities throughout the mountains and the oceans and the river that you saw there in the anthem. So how we make sure that this small town in the mountains, somebody cares about the quality of education? You go out and you see this guy is good in math. He is good for solving problems. That doesn't relate to people's life. Quality of education is an abstract concept. that we understand and we know how important it is, but how we touch people's lives so that they can move around this. So what we do is in every town in Antioquia, Medellin is a town, 2.5 million people, but we have towns with 3,000 people, 5,000 people, 4,000 people, 20,000 people. So how we get there in those mountains and talk about the quality of education. So in every town in Antioquia, we have signed with the mayor of the town, with the educational community for the first time they get together, and we have had a baseline and said, we're going to work on these subjects. And we began, and we make it a subject for the whole town. And people start seeing what we are doing. So we have to get kids to school in all places all around Colombia, and Antioquia is no exception. We want more computers, we need internet connections, we have better teachers and so on. So we start working on all these things. But we have to get through Antioquia, the town, we have to get to a school, and we have to get to the classroom all over the place in Antioquia. How we get there? It's very easy to give a speech here in Medellin, but nobody will listen there. So how we get to the schools? We have designed a way of getting into every town. We designed what we call the Antioquia's Knowledge Olympics, which is our own test that we give to kids throughout Antioquia. And they will take the test, and they are happy to take the test, and they take them in all the schools. And everyone wants to take the test. We are not here in the problem that the union doesn't allow us to take tests. That's not our problem. Every place is taking the test. In every school, kids are preparing for the test. The teachers, for the first time, are working for something that they can see. In every town, we choose the best students. We find out what the problems are. We understand and we see what's wrong with the mathematics in each town. And then we design the programs with the teachers, with the kids, with everyone around what we see in the schools, and we start moving up. For example, it's very common here in Colombia these days, and actually in the United States happens too. The problem, the quality of education is that the teachers are bad. So we have to change the teachers. That's a very easy way to destroy a whole society. I tell you something that is very important. In Antioquia, where you are, there is not a single teacher who is bad. Everyone here is good, but everyone here can improve. In all schools in Antioquia today, we are working in how we are going to improve this year. And we have put all these conditions together in order to get everyone improving. Every single kid in all towns in Antioquia are working towards getting better in education. We've recognized teachers' recognition, dignity. Instead of telling the teachers you are the worst, we are telling you are good, but we can improve. And we know how to build hope instead of destroying. I look like a genius saying, very bad in mathematics. We need to have teachers who can do this and that. That's false. That's true that we need to improve the quality of our teachers. But that way, the way it's being done, is this, they are destroying, because I can have, in Antioquia, we have 22,000 teachers outside Medellin. And they are going to be there by the time I finish as governor. And they are not going to send me from Harvard 22,000 teachers who come to teach here with excellent level. These are human beings that we work with, and they are going to be crucial for the transformation of our society. And all these things get together in a place that we call the Parques Educativos. We are building throughout these mountains, the places that you saw, a new place in the same spirit of what we have doing in Medellin. But we put them together in a single place in this town, which is called Parque Educativo. That's a place, the first room that you will find is the room for teachers. In Spanish, we say maestras y maestros, because around 80% are women, something that is not recognized. And then it should be connected to the world, digital. We may be very far away, but we will be in touch with the whole world by technology means. There is a place for entrepreneurship, for culture, and in those places where we have seen violence, where we have seen all the destruction, we build a new place, beautiful place again, the place which is the most important in town and where the kids can have the opportunity to dream again. We are building 80 of them. I'm going to show you some pictures, but that's the place of the 21st century. In this country, we managed to pass the page of violence that we know a lot about violence, but we give us an opportunity to talk about intelligence, decency, capabilities, which is with education, we could transform this society. And we are doing it all over the place. And now pictures time. Antioquia, Medellin, the most beautiful city in the world. Then Barcelona is second. And I love Barcelona. New York third. Madison tied with Barcelona for second. That's Medellin. Here there are many places that we have built in Medellin. Again, when I say we, here we have some of the people who have done these things, the marvelous architects and sensitive people that we have. For example, at the top of the mountain where you went, you will find a building, which is Parque Biblioteca España. That's how we look when we got in here. We have to buy the lot, and we start building. I'll go fast. And that's what ended up there. Nobody would have dreamed that a Parque Biblioteca would be there. You can take the cable car, but you get to the place where you develop your human condition by your intelligence and your sense of community. For example, another piece of Medellin. This is a corner in a town in a neighborhood in Medellin. That's the way it looked like. There we built an entrepreneurship center for popular communities. It looks like that. We changed the skin. The beautiful thing appears there, but nothing. If you go there, then you are going to have support for microfinances, how you can have your own micro enterprise, how you educate about the benefits of trying to work together. For example, this was a school in Medellin. That's the way it looked. Now it's the way it looks now. We are sending a message, a political message that said, this is where we are going to change our society. Another one, it looks like that. That's another place in Medellin. That's our Science and Technology Park, which is something wonderful, and I'm sure you are going to go there. We built it. And you see the road here, the street here, we connected. We have this urban intervention, these places where we connect the city where nobody will dare to move beyond this point. The botanical garden used to be like that. Now it is like this. It's the spring of Medellin that is shining there. For example, this is part of our downtown. It used to be like that, and now it's like this. And they will tell us it's impossible. You cannot touch that because Medellin would die. But there it is now. The Cultural Center of Moravia, this is a beautiful place designed by a wonderful architect who has died. So I've shown you park libraries, cultural center, science and technology, botanical garden. I didn't show schools. I showed you 2 schools and so on. What are those things? Education, science, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, and culture. Whatever we say has a physical expression, so you put together, when you dream, you know what you talk about, and it's tangible. So you see, you understand, you feel, and then you believe. And that's what makes the hope appear in Medellin. Now a quick trip to Antioquia. This is a place by the Atrato River, by the jungle in the Pacific. This is a town that is called Vigía del Fuerte. 5,000 people. In order to get there, you may go by the river or you have to fly. There is no road that you will get in there. So how are we going to bring hope here? All black people, Afro-Colombians, there, living in a very poor condition. So we bring hope. We're going to build there what is the equivalent of Park Library, Entrepreneurship Center, Science and Technology, all these things. We're going to put one in there, and they are going to dream, and we are going to have the programs there. So this is how it is going to be. We are about to inaugurate it, and we are building a place where these kids, where this community, for the first time in their lives, they are going to have a dream. And we are going to put it together, and they are going to be connected with the world. And I hope the whole Ford Foundation is going to work with us there. And many other foundations too. So for example, that is in Vigía del Fuerte. In Urabá, in Apartado, we are building the University of Antioquia, the State University of Antioquia, like the State University of Wisconsin or California, the system. We have the University of Antioquia, and we are building the university there. Something that sounds trivial, but for us it's very deep, because the poorest person is going to be able, this is going under construction right now, but they are going to say, my daughter is going to study here, and they can see it. That's very important, because people will say, I want my kid to be prepared to get there. And when we talked about quality of education is in order to get here. So they will understand what quality of education is. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Another town in Antioquia, in the mountains. This is Rafaela Watt's town, Támesis. We are going to get there. And we are going to build this Parque Educativo. It's under construction. We are going to finish it in July. Another town in the mountains, coffee sectors. We are going to build a Parque Educativo there. We are going to build this. We are going to finish. Another place, another river, Magdalena River, on the opposite sector of the Atrato River, John Doe. That's where we are going to get. And this is the Parque Educativo that we are going to build. Another place in the mountains, you can see. In order to get there is very difficult. We are going to build our Parque Educativo. Another place, Tarazá. We are going to build the Parque Educativo. Briseño in the mountains, the FARC have attacked us there. They have done a lot of violence. Look at the town. Well, here we come with our Parque Educativo there. Argelia, another place in the mountains, very difficult to get there. That's where the Parque Educativo is going to be. Finish. Thank you very much.
Antioquia la más educada.